gentlemen, the William Paterson Jazz Orchestra under the direction of Dr. David Dempsey. Thank you so much. And to our good friends at WBGO, thank you for everything that you do. We know, we have a saying that art without an audience is merely a rehearsal. So thank you for everything you do for creating audiences for this art form and for our students, our faculty, and our alumni. Let's give them another round of applause. I should have also mentioned that you all got a mini jazz lecture from Bill Charlotte before the second piece, and that's not included in the price of your ticket. So your tuition bills will be in your email at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. But now it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's honoree receiving the Distinguished Alumnus Award. James Terrile, class of '87, is an equity portfolio manager at Capital Group, a private firm managing more than $2 trillion in equity and fixed income assets for millions of individual and institutional investors. Terrile earned his bachelor's degree in jazz studies and performance magna cum laude at William Paterson, where he studied under Rufus Reid. He is proof that a great WP jazz education can be the foundation for success in any field. Here to present the award to James is fellow honoree and friend and mentor, Rufus Reid.
Please. James Terrile. I'm so happy to be able to present this gentleman because for a long time I didn't know what he had done in terms of establishing a scholarship in my name. That's pretty heavy. I mean, that's deep for me. And, but I want you to listen to him because you heard him play, but you haven't really heard him play, but he can really play. And he has not stopped playing well. But he's become even more huge as a human being. And please, a round of applause for James Terrile, please.
Thank you for sharing the stage. That's a dream come true. Oh, boy. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. First thank you is to Rufus and Bill for letting me share the stage. It should be obvious to you that they can play at the highest level, and it should also be obvious to you that I bought my drum chair. I shouldn't be up there, but it was great fun. I'd also like to recognize this table right here, a bunch of alumni friends who I had a great fortune to get to know when we were all in college together, and it's kind of a band of brothers. You know, I learned so much listening to everybody at this table. I enjoyed so much playing with a lot of the people at this table and the rest of the alums, some of whom who couldn't be here tonight. So that is a memory I will always cherish, and thank you for being here. Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which inspired George Lucas to create Star Wars. And in that book and many other times he said, life is really about following your bliss. And for me, a long time ago, and I mean a long time ago, that was playing music. And when I arrived at William Paterson, I thought, it'll be a couple weeks before they recognize I'm the wunderkind. And about 2 months later, those expectations were totally destroyed when we had the first dialogue day This is the inside baseball of what this program is really like. Dialogue days persist to this day. They were created by Rufus as a peer-to-peer kind of review system. So you're playing in front of all the players, and by November, you've already heard who's standout. And I can still tell you what they said about me, Doug Weiss, and Dan at that moment. I think my hands were trembling almost as much as they were tonight. So a great experience, and you learn that this is a very high mountain to climb, that being the road to musical excellence. So for me, music was the most humbling, inspiring, and emotionally rewarding part of my youth, bar none, and those features stay today. As I said before, the jazz students were a family, really. We spent hours listening, playing together, practicing. We were just trying to carve places for ourselves in this cherished world that we wanted to be a part of. And at the end of the day, you were playing, you never arrived, but you were always trying to move forward. And loving the process, that was the key. And that's the greatest gift that music provided to me. You know, Rufus exemplifies what Campbell's talking about, the notion of following one's bliss. To briefly summarize a life of extraordinary accomplishments, there's Rufus the bassist, and if you don't hear that warm, all-embracing, enveloping sound and relentless groove, I really feel sorry for you, because it's so obvious and beautiful. I'm not going to reiterate the long, long list. I have a special place in my heart for Jack DeJohnette. I just wish I was that good, but you know, Ahmad the Terrible, that big bass sound. If you know it, you can sing it in your head. At least this table can. Then as educator, what made Rufus really special was he was a player educator. This was not academics, okay? This was about figuring out how to help us exceed our own perception of our limits. He could hear what the group was missing, and then whether it was playing it, singing it, or articulating it verbally, he got at the essence of what needed to happen to make it all better. And that's the magic of the man himself. And the second thing that I think is the most profound impact that I've experienced under his tutelage is this sense that you just have to push really hard to get to the next level. And he would be in the room, and I remember sometimes it was a glare, but sometimes it would just be this, like he was getting ready and he would start waving, and he was basically saying, you guys cannot give me enough energy right now. You just can't. And you would keep pushing and keep pushing, and he wanted more and more and more. Then you'd go back and you'd listen to Coltrane and Elvin, and you'd say, oh, okay, I think I understand like how high the mountain is again. But it doesn't end there for Rufus. He kept following his bliss after William Paterson. He studied at the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop, and that created the conditions for his next musical chapter. Last night at dinner, he was telling us about learning to develop simple motifs into orchestral works. The first motif took a year to develop. Now that shows the character of the man. This is somebody with an extraordinary musical life up to that point, basically taking it back to phase one and starting over. And what followed is now a long list of compositional works and achievements and accolades, and you should reward yourselves by going to listen to Skies Over Amelia, Whims of the Bluebird, Quiet Pride for Elizabeth Catlett, and the one I just heard today, which blew me away, was of Regal Patience, a three-part piece inspired by Coltrane's A Love Supreme. Highly recommend. Then there's Rufus, the family man. Doris, who is not just Mrs. Reid, but the soul of the family, and Michelle, son, and the extended family. I think these are the vital sources of Rufus's own quiet pride. For you young students, I know I'm taking too long, but how do you know you're really following your bliss? I think the signposts are pretty easy. First, you really have a deep emotional response to the subject matter. If the music shakes you to your core and makes it so that you just have to relentlessly pursue it, you're in the right neighborhood. But the second thing is equally, if not more important. When you really love what you're doing, and this applies much more broadly, you value process more than outcomes. And what I mean by that is, just listen to Rufus, Bill, the jazz studies alums I know. We valued achieving excellence at least as much as the remunerative potential, which in the jazz world is not consequential. So it is really about evolving, trying to perfect serving the music, and realizing you never reach the pinnacle, but you're always climbing. And that's how you follow your bliss through your whole life. Whether you stay with it, you do what I did and reinvent yourself 100 times. I've had a few career changes, and those features are the unifying themes. Lastly, for me, following my bliss has led to the creation of a family that, with my lovely wife, Travis, and 3 children, has changed everything. It's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me, and nothing else compares, and I hope the same for you. So thank you, Rufus, for setting the standard. You inspired the philanthropy. It just helps a few students ease their financial burden and hopefully allows them to more deeply pursue their art. And thank you, Bill Charlap, for being another extraordinary player, educator, and for carrying the torch. Thanks to Dave Dempsey for coordinating it all and for curating the jazz archives. And to steal from Rufus, may William Paterson Jazz Studies program keep swinging for another 100 years. Thank you.